The XM2WE. This is the prodigal son that many have been looking forward to for quite some time, and for pretty good reason. The XM1 has been a fan favorite shape and size for a fair bit of time, which I never really had the luxury of getting into as I'm pretty new to the peripheral scene. Now, sometime after the initial release and non-availability in New Zealand, I had a homie reach out from EndGameGear to arrange that the people at PC Case Gear can test shipping options to New Zealand from Australia, and obviously fast forward a little bit of time, we do have a copy in hand. Now the mouse has a very minimal unboxing, which is really good, and I do have a shorts video posted up on that from a few weeks back. But I need to get into the mouse itself after, having it in hand. Now, upon first glance, it really reminded me of a mouse that I already have in my collection, which is likely a predecessor of the original XM1, and that being the Lamzu Atlantis. Now, the XM2WE is no small mouse. It's a pretty wide boy with the back palm-filling portion, measuring in at 6.6 centimeters wide, curving all the way down the middle to 5.7 centimeters and outward to the front at 6.2, making kind of like a pear-shaped base. And looking from the side, you can see that the back hump of the mouse does have a relatively low start and has a bit more of an aggressive curve, cutting to the apex of the mouse at 3.8 centimeters, then less aggressively curves down to the front end of the mouse, ending at 1.3 centimeters. Creating kind of a good lower profile click. So just to put it next to something more popular like a G Pro X, for example, you can see it's quite a bit more of a big boy mouse and also not really tailored to everyone's grip style there is. 100% this mouse is stronger for those in the clawing department, and also hand size that will be quite a bit bigger to find it more comfortable. Moving on from the initial sizing is going to be the scroll wheel. It has an insane amount of grip with this thick, gnarly rubber band. After dismantling the mouse, we can see that the XM2WE utilizes a wide TTC silver encoder and a KL 2.0 micro switch. That gives the scroll a heavier and more tactile feeling. Now paired with the KL 2.0 switch, it's also a nice light medium click feel. It's also very small, just coming in at 2 centimeters though, but I personally think that that's a great choice as it's out of the way of my fingers readjusting, and with all that combined, it's just been dummy solid. Next we move on to the side buttons. Can I just say, what a great design. They protrude a fair bit and also are pretty big, but not obnoxiously so. And the shape just flows so neatly into a comfortable curve down into the mouse shell. Delving deeper, we do see that the side buttons use the exact same micro switch as the scroll wheel, being the KL 2.0s. Now once again, giving us a nice snappy and light medium click. Last of the clicks, we do have the main M1 and M2 mouse clicks. Huge. They take up roughly half the size of the mouse. They don't have any grooves, but rather curve off from the center of the mouse off to the sides. Now, with that being said though, it's still really comfortable and doesn't cause my fingertips to really feel like they're, pivoting or rolling to certain sides unless I do intend to do so. Besides the design, the most important part is the use of KL's new optical go switches. Now, I don't have the resources to compare or really analyze the click's performance, but I do definitely recommend checking out House Gaming's in-depth review on the XM2WE. That's only if those performance metrics are of interest, so I will be linking the video down in the description below. So instead of the performance, I do mainly focus on the click feel and implementation. Now to me personally, the Go Opticals don't feel as nice or as snappy as mechanical switches. I was told they do break in after a while of use, and it has gotten lighter, but regardless, my opinion still sticks. The Go Opticals are a fair bit heavier for my liking, and I have 2 things to elaborate on in my cons kind of just nearing the video. Moving on to the mouse skates. Once again, they are huge. The included mouse skates are pretty okay. Now, as you can see, I did remove them before getting to show them on the review, and it was plainly just out of frustration's sakes. I'm not used to having way more friction to my mice, so, after not feeling my preferred fluidity, I just ended up ripping them off midway through an Apex game and just stuck some AliExpress darts on them, and they just work perfectly. See, this is a bit more of a rant towards the big skates, as they do have quite a bit more friction regardless of the fastest pad I was using. And whilst we're at the bottom anyways, I might as well point out the minimalism to the base, having just a power switch at the bottom over here, and also a mode button. So this acts as a DPI button to kind of cycle through all your profiles, but if you do hold it down, it does end up showing your battery life. So that's pretty cool. And now we get into my favorite part of the exterior. So, I heard a lot of chatter on the XM1R coating and that it would be used for the XM2WE as well. But never would I have been prepared for how insanely good this was in person. The coating is mainly a matte UV coating, and the effect that it creates for grip is actually so sick. It gives the mouse this feeling of it being covered by kind of a thin coat of rubber, and regardless of how sweaty your hands get, it never slips up. In fact, it literally gets grippier. From all the mice I've used so far, this is just next level when it comes to the feel, and I've been fangirling about it so much that I'm even researching some coatings of the same type to use on all my personal custom painted mice. Now, on top of that, we also have the structure of the mouse. Holy heck, is this a unit of a mouse. It's so sturdy all around, and I haven't experienced any flex, except for a tiny bit on the main clicks, but overall it's such a solid structure. But, obviously enough on the outside of things. Lastly, we move over to the internals. The XM2WE packs a Comp-X MCU, and most importantly for me is going to be the sensor. So it is 2023, and for the most part we've been seeing companies release mice with the newer PAW3395 sensors. That is just not the case with EGG though. They've stuck to the PAW3370 sensor. That doesn't mean it's a worse performing mouse though. Oh no. Now, their implementation of the older sensor is bloody great. I was initially swapping back and forth from the HSK Pro 4K and the original Lamzu Atlantis. And both of these mice have newer sensors, and the HSK obviously has the 4K implementation, but weirdly enough, the XM2WE on 1000Hz polling rate in comparison to the HSK Pro's 4000Hz implementation is insanely smooth, literally butter. People were initially fussing about some mice using the 3370s in 2023, but genuinely, there's nothing to worry about if it has a great implementation. Then it'll even still surpass 3395 mice. And just the last few extra non-essential details to point out is the weight of the XM2WE and the battery life. It weighs in at 63 grams whilst bearing a 410 mAh battery, which gives me roughly a week of constant use. But after ripping off the main skates, I do sit at around 60 or 59-ish grams. Now, in conclusion, that is kind of my overview of the XM2WE. Getting into the end of it, I do have to point some things out though. Now, I was very vocal about the main clicks already on the go, with the opticals not feeling as well as they should be. But the worst thing for me is when I have no headphones or IEMs on, and the clicks sound clickier and snappier. Now, having that audio feedback does have a huge impact on the feel for me personally. After getting my IEMs in and I just focus on the clicks, without having that audio feedback, they do make me feel like the clicks are heaps mushier. Last on the main clicks though, was them having very low pre-travel, which is good, but a fair bit of deeper post-travel. So if you actuate the clicks all the way into the mouse, which I personally do, so that jump back of the click is noticeably slower and throws me off just on occasions. And final thing I want to touch base on is, well, on the bass. The mouse gates do need a rework. They are just too big and cause way too much friction for what it is, but that is my personal opinion. Now, regardless, the quality of the mouse is insane. It is comfortable, strong, responsive, smooth, grippy, and it's so good for claw grip and just bigger hands in general. And genuinely that puts it in my top 5 personal mice ever used. Overall, it's just a great value mice, also coming in at $80 on their website, or PC case gears for 130 Australian dollars. So that is going to be all for the review today. Now, before we do end things off, I do have an announcement. So as I've stated in the start, PCCG and EGG have kindly sent out this mouse for me as just kind of a test, but that is not all. They provided me with another XM2 to give away, which I'm extremely grateful for. So in the next few weeks, I will be doing a custom painting on the XM2WE and will be providing that as kind of just a dope giveaway to someone. I'll be sorting out the terms for the giveaway in this coming week and will announce everything on my Twitter. So super exciting stuff to come. Thank you so much for watching guys, take care and have a good one. Peace.